we're going to move on. Rutte tells Rubio Trump's demand for increased European defense spending is fair. Mark Rutte had a phone conversation with Marco Rubio on Wednesday and told him that he looked forward to welcoming him to NATO and working together on Ukraine, Russia, and China. To all of my European friends, I know the truth. I know what you've done for Ukraine as far as humanitarian and financial aid. But Donald Trump is going to be annoying about this and say that doesn't count. The only thing that counts is military aid. Because the United States has given the most military aid. Either way, it's been 3 years. Europe can be doing more militarily to help support Ukraine at this time, given that the Russians are invading Europe with North Korea's help. If we want to guarantee the safety and security of Moldova, Romania, Poland, the Baltics, Finland, then yes, Europe's going to have to find a way to spend more militarily, not just financial and humanitarian. So here is the Secretary General of NATO saying that there's a lot they can do to work with Trump, to give him basically a win politically.
In Ukraine, we need US also to stay involved and to do as much as possible to get Ukraine in a position of strength whenever peace talks start. But I can tell the Europeans, if this new Trump administration is willing to keep on supplying Ukraine with defense industrial from its defense industrial base, the bill will be paid by the Europeans. I'm absolutely convinced of this. We have to be willing to do that because at this moment they are paying more than the Europeans. And here Trump is right. It is a worldwide conflict, yes, but still Ukraine is closer to Europe than to the US.
This is acceptable. The NATO alliance is holding, guys. The Western alliance 1 week into Trump's presidency is holding. This is good news. And check this out. Hungary wobbles on sanctions threat after Trump calls out Putin. So now we have these middle actors, like Fico in Slovakia and Orban in Hungary. And these guys are confused. They don't know what to do. Do they side with Putin and the Russians? Or do they side with Trump and the Americans? I think Viktor Orban, who loves Trump, is a big Trump supporter, perhaps was expecting a different tone this week. So Donald Trump has not only pulled the rug out from under the Russians, but also the Hungarians, the Slovaks. There's lots of intermediate countries playing on the fence of both sides who are probably spooked by what Donald Trump has said and done so far this week. And then there's Zelensky. Trump needs to come out on top. Zelensky on U.S. president role and ending the war. Zelensky just gets it. You know, given that he's an actor and a comedian and he's very social media savvy, he understands Trump's objectives, which is to make Trump look good. And anybody who makes Trump look good, Trump then likes and praises and supports. So you're not going to find a bigger supporter of Donald Trump today than President Zelensky. And there's nothing he won't do for his people. There's nothing that President Zelensky won't do to bring safety and security to his country. And he will say and do whatever Donald Trump says if it means continuing military aid and increasing pressure and sanction on the Russians. And you're not going to find a more pro-American country in the world than Ukraine. Global poll finds Ukrainians among the most U.S.-positive nation in the world. This is an easy win for MAGA. If you want Ukraine on your side forever, through thick and thin, life or death, heaven and hell, whatever, let's finish off Russia together. MAGA uses this. Trump has the power, and he seems open to suggestions so far. So this is from Robert Wilkie. He is heading Trump's Pentagon transition team, and he's delivering clear messages on what the Trump administration wants to do. Concerning Putin, stop the war in Ukraine, or we'll give Zelensky everything he needs, and we'll unleash U.S. energy and economic power to bankrupt Russia. Concerning the NATO alliance and the Europeans, they need to start spending about 3% or change their targets for spending. 3% on defense, specifically the nuclear powers. The United Kingdom and France have to increase their militaries. And then special mention of Germany also needing to step up. Concerning Ukraine, this isn't going to go away. They need to start mobilizing 18 to 25-year-olds. And for my Ukrainian viewers, please stop talking like this is a death sentence. That if you conscript or mobilize 18 to 25-year-olds, they're all going to die. Joining the Ukrainian military is not a death sentence. And they don't have to be in combat positions. If Ukraine wants to conscript or mobilize 18 to 25-year-olds, put them in support roles. Put them on the border with Belarus, or invent some form of national service, whether it's police officer, the railroad network, firefighters, air defense, working in an artillery factory. If you want the United States to continue supporting you, then there shouldn't be any able-bodied men between the ages of 18 and 25 sitting in their parents' basements playing Stalker 2 all day.
But I'll make it
Mobilize them. This is an easy win, both for Ukraine and for Trump. Let's get to the bad news for Russia. Ukrainian drones strike oil refinery in Ryazan and microelectronics plants in Bryansk. Ukraine last night launched a coordinated 120 drone assault against multiple Russian regions, hitting a major oil refinery and a critical microelectronics plant. There are videos online. I'm going to link these down below. I can't play through the videos, that's YouTube policy, but I mean, just look at the still images. This was massive. This was a huge hit. Just look at that mushroom cloud. The camera is tilted because the guy is running away, but that is a massive explosion at a Russian oil refinery in Ryazan. This is what the depot and refinery looks like. You can see there's coke cages around all of the containers, but I don't think the coke cages work. For those of you at home playing Russian oil refinery bingo, this is the updated board. The largest 9 refineries, you can see that Ukraine has already struck 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of them. And then as far as the minor refineries and depots, yeah, they continue to be... It can always get worse, Russia. You can stop this war at any time. Ukrainian Marines destroy 7 Russian vehicles with javelins in Kursk. If you want to see some combat footage, I'll link this down below, but this was a Russian armored assault, and 7 armored vehicles were taken out by javelins and NLAWs. Russian military deploys injured troops in crushed battalions, highlighting manpower crisis. The Russians are doing so bad. They have legit crushed battalions. I'm gonna link the videos down below of Russians who are wounded and on crutches going in the meat assaults. Not just one video, not just 2 videos, but 3 different videos. Russian soldiers who are wounded on crutches in broad daylight, charging through open fields in meat assaults near Pokrovsk. This is the mighty Russian military. I'm going to link everything down below. This is pathetic. Russian evacuation ships finally allowed in the Syrian port of Tartus, but the Kremlin lease is now cancelled. So these warships, they've been floating out in the Mediterranean for almost 2 months, and finally the new Syrian government has said, "You're done, Russia." They cancelled this 49-year-old contract because Bashar al-Assad, who signed the contract, fled the country. But the Syrians are going to be nice, and they're going to let the Russians sail into the port one last time, load up as much as they can, and then they got to leave. And they're never going to be allowed to come back. This naval port now belongs to the new government of Syria. Huge defeat for the Russians. Russian coal and steel exports to China shrink in 2024.
Trevor's parents can finally give their boy
The coal and steel exports are weak, Russia. They're weak.
contract closed.
Cocaine smuggling into Russia up tenfold since invasion of Ukraine. As the Russian economy and society continues its collapse, a lot of Russians are just choosing to party through the apocalypse. Let's get to the good news for Ukraine. The European Union pledges $35 billion to Ukraine in 2025. This is part of that $50 billion package. The United States has already delivered their money, UK has done it, Japan has done it, and the European Union is pledging the other $35 billion. It's happened, so fantastic news. I want a quick mention, this Ukrainian documentary, Porcelain War, it's been nominated for an Oscar, Best Documentary. You can watch the trailer online, I'll link it down below, but the video I don't think will be available to the public until after the Oscars. The story follows 3 Ukrainian artists during the war, and I think it has a serious chance of winning Best Documentary. So I think the Oscars are coming up in 2 weeks. If you want to tune in and support Ukraine, hopefully they can get some media attention with the win of the Oscars. Final clip I want to play for you is a Ukrainian man taking his dog for a walk in Kharkiv, and the air raid sirens went off, and you can actually hear a strike in the background. But I want to share with you the reaction of this Ukrainian man's dog.
Короче, ребят, гуляем сейчас с Айсом, слышите вот этот звук на заднем фоне? Где-то летит падла. Ебать. На секундочку. На секундочку, сидеть. Сидеть. Вот такая вот залупа прилетает очень часто. Хорошо. Все хорошо. И еще где-то летит.
Russia will be defeated. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this
No wonder Grimes blew through $12 million and still can't see her kids with Elon Musk. Getting involved with Chelsea Manning was her biggest mistake. Grimes has been in a legal battle with Elon Musk for custody for 2 years. She's about to exhaust her $15 million fortune and is facing bankruptcy. But Musk's net worth has surged by nearly $8 billion. It's also worth mentioning that Grimes hasn't seen her kids for 6 months. She spends her days sleeping and crying, unable to focus on work. She can only see Musk attending various business events with X through the news. In fact, if Grimes hadn't provoked Musk, their relationship might not have become so strained. After all, Musk has managed to maintain peaceful relationships with his ex-wives, Justine Musk and Tallulah Riley. After breaking up with Musk, Grimes secretly dated the notorious Chelsea Manning, and like Musk's eldest child, Vivian Jenna Wilson, she also transitioned to female. It's hard for Musk to forgive Grimes for rubbing salt in his wounds. No wonder Grimes blew through $12 million.
babies. And so at the end of the day, like, you're just worn down. You've like fought the good fight at the company. You've put out the fires. You bathe the kids. You put them to bed. And then you've got a fight with your partner, right? You're just exhausted. So in that moment where I'm like, I just can't take anymore. The only thing that was food to me would be like to eat food. Right? Like, oh, little brownies in the kitchen or potato chips. Like, somehow eating food to soothe my discomfort.
Well, you do that, Mike. No, because you're right to talk all day today about all these things. I know, man. Past 8 p.m. I'm all the time. Drink all that. Go to where? Last night, 30 bars. I like drinking. Whatever. I like drinking. I don't want to die, but I also don't want to stop drinking.
So then you watch the arguments, and then like Andy Bryan shows up, right? He's like, look, we've had a tough day.
How long ago was this, by the way? Just set me in time.
10 years ago.
Oh, so you made some real fucking progress with Brownie.
Oh yeah, he was like, he was like, 40 pounds overweight, like 50 pounds heavier than I am now, depressed as fuck, like desperately wanted to commit suicide.
Okay.
Like,
this is really important right now that you're rooting this story and this current approach in that person, because there's a million things I want to bring up on this episode. We only have so much time, and many people trying to speak. But that Brian represents a lot of country and the world right now. A lot of people that are struggling with debt, with problems with their spouses, with children, with chemical and imbalances and mental illnesses, and even more so, another topic I want to talk about, lack of discipline. That is such a major part of everything we're talking about that comes very easily to you now and has always come very easily to you. I am a representation of people that does not come very easily to. Discipline for me is very, very difficult. I am at the whim of my addiction and my desires, right? So I appreciate that you brought that up for all people who are watching this. So you're proving before we even get that far in this episode that you were able to take it from that place to where you are now, and not that long of a period. I'm sure you've been here for a number of years already. Right? How long have you been in this family here? 4 years.
Yeah.
So in 5 to 6 years with discipline and proper planning, someone can pull themselves out of that depressed state
to become the healthiest person on planet Earth. Yeah, so like, so a few things on this. One is that, so when Indian Bryan shows up, he is so...
Was that Indian Bryan?
Evening.
Yeah,
didn't like
other characters. Great. Okay. Sorry.
So he is incredibly effective at manipulation. Evening Bryan would say, look, just tonight.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, you're working out really hard. We'll be like, just one. We're like, hey, look, tough day. Like, his arguments are so compelling. And it's like, okay, right, let's do it. But we know that it never ends there, right? It's always this perpetual elves. And so I was desperate. I tried to stop my own self-destructive habits for years. And so one day I was just desperate. I wanted to commit suicide. I was so depressed. And I said, like, Evening Bryan, you're fired. Like, you're just fucking fired. You make my life miserable. Like, you show up every night. You tell me to do these things. I do them. And I feel awful. I can't sleep. I wake up in the morning. I'm I'm grumpy. And then my willpower's low. You're just fucking fired. So I made a rule. I said, I, Brian, cannot eat food from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. under any circumstances.
No fucking excuse.
Never, ever. Like, if it was like between life and death, still, no, you can't. Like, no food in that window of time. Because that was like my window of vulnerability.
There it is.
Like, those strikes.
Yeah. You know that, right? I can relate to it.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, like, he said it. We used to do a ritual. Midnight ritual.
Yeah, exactly.
Boys in the house, gather around the kitchen table. Mike would make his little cinnamon toast crunch.
Yeah.
It's like peanut butter bread for us. Oh man, it's so good though, Brian. It's so good though, Brian. And this, I guess, is where I'd like to go next. In your Netflix documentary, I heard one woman on The View, describe your lifestyle as vapid.
Yeah.
I looked it up. I said vapid. I like words. I looked it up. Vapid. Essentially, it was bland.
Yeah.
And generally, I do feel like that is where I would struggle with some of this. I don't want to die, I don't know if I want to stop drinking a little alcohol here and there, because I think I fear the bland lifestyle more than I fear death. And I think a lot of people agree with that.
Yeah. So if you... this is an exercise of introspection, of trying to find out where we all might be NPCs. And so in this moment, we're expressing a viewpoint of reality to say, I have this temporary sensation of pleasure by doing this thing. After that thing, I regret it. Right?
Sometimes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, it's just part of our social cultural thing. But basically what we're saying is, behind all this, we say, we're all going to die. Therefore, we might as well. Right?